Hello and welcome to another YouTube exclusive of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at DynastyDad FF. We are now going to re-break down all of our tiers, the Sweet 16 of the running back class. I got my pink shirt on because my daughter turned 16. March Madness is rolling around. That's always Sweet 16. And, when you're looking at things, since 2018, there's been 98 running backs drafted. 26% of them have posted a top 30 season. But when you start to look at round 1 and 2, that's 76%. 19 out of 26 have been in that area. We're really looking at what the NFL draft is going to do for these guys. Before we do that, though, we want to really just break down how this class looks before you get the draft capital. Reminder to hit that subscribe button. Every Tuesday we do 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, a trade show. Every Wednesday, a mock draft, so you guys can really get as sharp as possible for your rookie drafts. Snoog, let's kick it off. The S tier here, and that's our smash tier. That's our generational talent. That's a guy that's going to be a set it and forget it. Your guy is Ashton Jeanty. It's not even a debate. That Jeanty is literally the guy. He's in that same tier as Bijan, as Gibbs. Jeanty is going to be someone that is a truly generational talent at the 101. We don't need to talk about him a lot other than to know since 2023, he is number one rusher in all of college football. And at his yards after contact, he would have been RB5. So he's basically two different running backs better than everybody else. I think the gap between him and the 102, whoever that is going to be, is pretty large still. I think there's some landing spots for some of these running backs that could close that gap. But that is our S tier. Those are those guys. Tell everybody a little bit about, S tier versus A tier and what they are seeing in our smash rankings.
Yeah, A tier previous prospects, you're looking at Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, those type of players that are going to get round 2 draft capital, maybe sneak into that late round 1 and just be guys that you can rely on, 60 to 70% plus hit rates. These guys are going to give you top 12 seasons more likely than not. The smash tier, you're getting those Saquons, those Bijans, those Jahmyr Gibbs, those Ashton Jeantys, those guys that are getting top 15 draft capital in the NFL draft, your Todd Gurley's, those type of players. So there is a big gap here, but the strength and the depth of this class is that A tier. And I'll kick it off right away. A tier is our workhorse running back tier. You got guys like TreVeyon Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, Omarion Hampton, Kaleb Johnson. My RB2 as of right now, it's more of a 2A to 2B with Quinshon Judkins, but it's TreVeyon Henderson. And the reason why is because I still just think from a fantasy football perspective, he has the highest ceiling out of any of the guys behind him. But I have a tweet going out later today. I think Judkins and Hampton have a way higher floor and more guaranteed to be a 15 to 20 touch guy right from the get. But TreVeyon Henderson in the right hands with the right coaching staff, Ben Johnson to Chicago, Chip Kelly's offense over there in Las Vegas. He can be a guy that scores 350 plus fantasy points and gets 50, 60, 70 receptions and is hyper efficient on his touches, like your Devon A. Chains, your Travis Etienne's, your Jahmyr Gibbs. That's why I have Henderson when I have him. Posted a 9.4 plus raw score, 4.4340, jumped out of the gym, elite athlete, 3 straight seasons with 900 plus rushing yards, one of 2 running backs in this class to post 1,000 plus yards as a true freshman. Him and his previous friend, Quinshon Judkins, did that. So he's just a guy that was highly efficient, highly productive, posted 7 plus yards per carry in 2 seasons that he posted 1,000 plus yards on. So Sky did it all. Dad, I'll kick it over to you to talk about your RB2 of this class, where we're a little different here, but
yeah, and that's what's great about this process is, if TreVeyon Henderson goes early round 2 to the Bears after they beefed up that offensive line, or he goes late round 1 to the Chiefs, I mean, like, I'm excited, right? Like, talent-wise, I love these guys in A tier. And I think when it's all said and done, landing spot's going to be huge for A tier. For me, the guy that I keep seeing all the way from, 12 to 21 is Omarion Hampton. I love the tape when I watch Omarion Hampton. He's got a violent runner, runs through contact, elite vision. A lot of people thought that he wasn't going to test out athletically. His raw score was off the charts. He's someone that you look at. Jeanty is absolutely generational, but when you look at Hampton, everybody doesn't think he has that same kind of speed. He ran over 20 miles per hour multiple times throughout the season. Reliable hands out of the backfield. I like him very similar to what I've seen from Josh Jacobs in the past. I think he's my comfortable 102. And some of the landing spots in this class are huge because you see opportunities of him going to the Broncos or the Bears or the Cowboys. And I think those landing spots, and the Chargers were one before Najee went there. But I think Omarion Hampton's draft capital, I think what I see on the tape, he's going to be my RB2. But I think him and Henderson are very close, as is the next guy here. So like A tier with these three guys, I think there's a separation between Hampton, Henderson, Judkins, and Kaleb Johnson at the current moment. But I think Quinshon Judkins is right there on these guys' heels. I know he's someone that you've loved throughout the process. You and I had him as the RB1 overall, a year and a half ago before Jeanty really went off. So sell me on Quinshon Judkins in this A tier.
Yeah, he's splitting hairs with Henderson for me at 2A, 2B. It's been like that the whole process. But Judkins is my personal favorite player in this class. I mean, he's just a guy that I've watched throughout his entire collegiate career. The best thing about him, played with 2 NFL college type players, Zach Evans, TreVeyon Henderson. Damn near outproduced both. He didn't outproduce TreVeyon Henderson, but he went neck and neck with him. 1,000+ yards, double-digit touchdowns, kind of played a different role. So Henderson's numbers look flashier, but he absolutely had Zach Evans walking around his Gatorade bottle for him. And he was a guy, as a true freshman, 3-star recruit, 1,500+ yards, elite producer in 2 different Power 4 systems. Again, one of 2 true freshman running backs with over 1,000+ yards. The other one was TreVeyon Henderson. And this is a guy with 3 straight seasons with 1,000+ yards, posted a historic raw score at 220+ pounds, 9.97. I know everybody keeps saying that he had a 1.58 split. That raw score is not right. His split was 1.51. He was historic doing that and running a 4.48 at his size. Ridiculous, like ridiculous stuff. When it's all said and done, when landing spots come in, there's a damn good chance he's my RB2 in this class. One of the highest floors you're going to get in this class. I'm going to be getting him everywhere in rookie drafts. Dad, kick us off to finish off A tier with Kaleb Johnson.
So Kaleb Johnson, we've had as high as RB2 in this class. When you look at the 40-yard dash, it's a nice metric. It shows your explosiveness, but many of the top tier running backs in the NFL have posted in that 4 or 5 range like he did. Your Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, Kyron Williams, James Cook, all posted similar type 40s. So to take him from RB2 to RB5, and some people are bumping him down another tier. Some people are thinking he doesn't go till mid-round, second round in the NFL. I've seen a mock recently where they had him go 3rd round, and it's like the 40 is great, but it's not the end-all be-all. If you overlook a guy that has ran a 4.57, but then he has 2 elite years of production. It leads all of Power 5 with 8 runs over 20 miles per hour at 224 pounds. There's a difference between running with your underwear on and running in a game. And the fact that out of all running backs in Power 5, he had 8 carries over 20 miles per hour. Yep. Means he can run. He has long speed. He has acceleration. He's going to be absolutely fine. I would love to see him in a zone blocking scheme where he can really tear it up, because he's the most landing spot dependent out of this group. But I think he still belongs in this tier. And when it's all said and done, if his landing spot is better than these other guys, he still belongs in this area. What's cool is you're going to get him right now. A lot of mock drafts have him going 110. The other day, I got him 201. And I'm like, if you can get him back into the first, you just won your championship at 112. You should be salivating to get Kaleb Johnson in this A tier. And that ends up our A tier. Now we're going into B tier. And I want you to talk a little bit about how we came up with what we're talking about these tiers, because in the rookie guide, it tells you all these different scenarios of how these players are broken down, what we're looking at metric wise, and what you can expect from players in these tiers.
Yeah. So when you're talking about the smash tier and the workhorse tier, so that S and A tier, you're looking for guys that are projecting to be top 12 to 15 dynasty running backs pretty comfortably. They're going to get round 2 plus draft capital. They check every box. They're workhorse sized players. They can catch the ball in the backfield. Damn near doing everything you want. The next tier is that B tier for us. And this is that starter tier. This is the tier where you're projecting to land a James Cook, a Rachaad White, a David Montgomery, a James Conner, one of those guys that go day 2, but there's something about their profile holding them back from being a workhorse tier player. Cam Skattebo is my only player in this class, in this tier. I think there's players capable of being starters like Devin Neal and some of these other guys in this tier, but I just think Cam Skattebo is better than all those guys, but not good enough to be in the tier above. The thing with Skattebo is just the speed. Like, I think if an NFL team really views that as a huge weakness, he could slide down boards a little bit. But if you're just looking at the type of player he is, when he's on the football field, how he produces, He was Arizona State's entire offense, brought them far in the playoffs, almost carried them over a dub against Texas, had like 3 touchdowns and 150 total yards in that game, but posted 2,300 all-purpose yards and 45 receptions this past season. One of the hardest strength of schedules that they had too. Like his strength of schedule was ridiculously hard. And shout out Scott Barrett on Twitter. He's a guy out there doing awesome work, always posting cool analytics, cool statistics to talk about, look about. I know he's a big Skattebo guy as well. One of 3 running backs to post 1,700 yards and 550 plus receiving yards in the season. Cam Skattebo, Christian McCaffrey, Ashton Jeanty. Damn good company to be in if you're Cam Skattebo. He also has the second best next gen stats grade on NFL.com at 88.0, and he posted a 39.5-inch vertical at 220 plus pounds. Cam Skattebo can do it all. He's your David Montgomery, your James Conner, you're one of those type of guys that's that brute bruiser that can catch the ball well, good feet, good patience between the tackles, can carry the ball 15 to 20 times. Good short area burst, but he lacks that top end speed that could make him a 3rd or a 4th round pick in the NFL draft. But for me, he's by himself here in this B tier all day long.
And I think when we're looking at B tier versus C tier, you're looking at in your C tier, you're looking at a guy that's a committee, but has an opportunity for more. I think the NFL draft is going to show us. I mean, right now, Snoog has him in B tier. There's a couple guys I'm really close on, but we're going to leave them in C tier for right now. And to kick off C tier, that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in this tier. I see 3 or 4 of them having the opportunity to potentially jump into B tier based on where they go. We're looking at all these guys in C tier right now as guys that are likely going to go 3rd round, maybe 2nd round, but likely 3rd round. Since 2017, there has been 24 running backs selected in the 3rd round. Out of those 24, 16 of them have had a top 24 season. 14 of them have had 16 have had a top 36, 24 have had a top 24, and 6 of them have had a top 12 season. So you're still getting those diamond in a rough. You're still getting these guys that could legitimately prove to be elite players for your team. For me, the guy that I've loved throughout this entire process, the guy that I think his ceiling is a David Montgomery, his floor is a Devin Singletary, and I think speed is something that, like I talked about with Kaleb Johnson, Devin Neal ran a 4.58. But when you look at the other things that prove explosiveness, vertical jump, 37.5, broad jump, 10.4 at the combine. Guy changes direction with fluidity. He demonstrates patience that I've not seen since Le'Veon Bell. He sits back there. He's got a quick first step. Might not have the long speed, but his vision and his ability to trust the scheme, I think he is going to be someone that really gets the right opportunity to the Bears. I think he has a lot of David Montgomery skill set. And David Montgomery getting drafted into the NFL, he's a touchdown machine. Singletary has scored double-digit touchdowns multiple times. Yep. He's had 20-plus receptions multiple times. He has the skill set to be a 3-down back. Draft capital is going to be everything. If he goes in round 2, I think his stock is going to skyrocket. Yeah. If he goes in round 3, the landing spot is going to be a lot more important.
Yeah, Devin Neal, he talk about not putting too much into the combine. 3 straight seasons with 1,000-plus yards, true freshman breakout, 90-plus PFF rush grade in that season. 2 seasons with 6-plus yards per carry, 16-plus touchdowns as well in both of those seasons. Hyper-efficient player, carried Kansas basically every single year. He was their whole offense. Not a super fast guy, but he's patient. He's elusive. He can do it all between the tackles. With day 2 draft capital, I think he's in that Skattebo tier, and it's back to just those two being kind of in that 6-7 range together. But I just think Skattebo's more locked into draft capital, and I think that not Neal didn't hurt himself, but I think that he definitely didn't benefit himself from his combine to lock in and kind of where he's going to go. But
an early 4.5 would have helped. The late 4.5, people just don't quite think about it the same way. So let's talk about some of these other guys. I mean, Neal didn't test positive at the combine, but your guy here at RB8 sure as heck did. He blew up the combine.
Yeah, if you want to talk about we want to look at what stands out from this group of guys, and Bhayshul Tuten absolutely blew the doors off the combine. 4.3, 240, absolutely elite. Also had the fastest 10-yard split at 1.49. Checked every box. Posted a 9.3 plus raw score, 40.5-inch vertical, 10.10 broad. His athletic numbers were off the chart, kind of confirmed what we saw on tape. He's kind of more of that straight line runner. Raheem Mostert, one of those type of guys, is what he reminds me of a lot. I just think his combine cemented that he's going to probably get pretty good draft capital in the top 3 rounds. Posted 4+ yards after contact per attempt in every season but one, so 3 out of 4 seasons. He also hit 1,000+ all-purpose yards in 3 straight years. So productive player. A little bit of he's not really didn't go to a big Power 4 school. I mean, Virginia Tech's decent. They are considered Power 4, but I don't look at them and say, oh, he's playing like the ACC sucks. It's terrible. It's probably the worst division you can play in football. But he's interesting. He's definitely not the best runner and player in this tier, but the athleticism and the ability and the age and everything checks boxes. So I think that he can really blow up. But DJ Giddens, talk to us a little bit about him here, because he skyrocketed for both of us. We loved him before. We kind of got cold feet with him, and now we're back in on him again after a big combine.
Yeah, I love that you took Tuten there, because Giddens has been my guy. There's a lot of guys in this area that I really like, but he was impressive at the combine. 4.43 340, 10.10 broad jump, 39.5 vertical. He creates yardage with his elusiveness. He is someone that you see him in the open field. These are moves you can't teach. Like, he is so shifty. He's got great natural hands and route running ability. Ball security, 1 fumble, Snoog, and 428 carries. DJ Giddens is still tapping into his ceiling. We have not seen it yet, because he only started playing football as a sophomore in high school, which is wild to me. He's only learning the game. He's only getting through. This is the guy in this class that I think when it's all said and done, he starts out as a committee back and he becomes a starter by year 2, year 3. And we're going to be talking about, damn, why didn't we have DJ Giddens higher? Why didn't I take him, at this point in the draft? Because a lot of mock drafts, you're seeing him go in the mid-second to late second of your rookie drafts. And I think he's going to be your diamond in the rough, someone that really just blows up. And I'm super excited that he's dropping in drafts. And I'm excited that we can bring it to you guys, so you are not going to miss out.
Yeah, I love it. And Giddens is a guy I've been following for a while now. I get some receipts back to his freshman, sophomore season. Probably has the highest ceiling in this tier, but has definitely a lot of ways to go in terms of his development. But if he hits his stride and lands in a team where he's playing with a Joe Mixon or like a Alvin Kamara type player and sits for a little bit, he's going to really skyrocket. But probably my favorite player in this entire tier, Damien Martinez, comes in here. 4'5", 140 at 6 foot, 220 pounds. Absolute brute player, brute runner, good patience, good vision, natural player between the tackles. Reminds me of a lot of your James Conner, David Montgomery type of player. Jumped pretty good, had a pretty good combine overall for his size. I think he clocked in at like 230 pounds at the Senior Bowl. So he definitely plays as a bigger 2-down grinder, but also can catch the ball well. 3 straight seasons with almost 1,000+ yards. Checks every damn box. Like, this guy on film, loved his film. He's definitely my guy in this class. Been following him since he was a true freshman. My favorite thing about him, highly effective, highly productive in 2 completely different systems. Out of shotgun type offense there with Miami, and then an under center type offense there at Oregon State. Dude can do it all. So Damien Martinez is definitely a guy that I really like. I could see him being at the top of this tier very easily with draft capital.
And this is where it's important to know your league mates, because I took DJ Giddens over Damien Martinez because I wanted to make sure I got Dylan Sampson here. So I think Dylan Sampson is someone that is just an instinctual runner. He finds the crease when he needs to, sudden mover and short area quickness, creates yards after the, beyond blocking. Just like Giddens, you look at both of these guys, they can make extra yards. We have a lot of guys that we're going to talk about a little bit later here where they're going to get what is created for them. But he's someone that has just very impressive contact balance. Snoog, 928 or 29 yards out of his 1491 were after contact. He's got really good patience. I was disappointed that he didn't run a faster 40 time at his pro day. He did not run at the combine. Jumped 10.4, 35-inch vert. So his athleticism was not off the charts like we wanted to see based off his size. He's a little bit smaller than everybody else in this class. Where we're talking about, most of these running backs have prototypical size. They're 6 foot, they're 220. He's considerably smaller. So we were hoping to see what we saw from Tuten, right? We wanted to see an explosive athlete who's going to be a game changer. I think he's going to be a really good change of pace back with the potential to grow into a lead role, just like DJ Giddens. I think there's an opportunity for Dylan Sampson to grow, but he's going to be primarily as that 1B in a committee. And I think he has opportunity after that. But right now, a lot of people are overdrafting. I'm seeing a lot of people taking him late first. I think he's still going to be somewhere in that second, and this whole class is just going to be separated here between their draft capital. I mean, we've now named 11 guys. There's one more guy in this tier, someone who was a year ago, you would have had in 2023, you would have said this guy was in that A tier. Ollie Gordon has dropped off for a lot of people. Now we're starting to get him at real good value. Superflex mock draft, last one, I got him at the 301. I don't see a reason why he doesn't go in the second round of your rookie draft.
Yeah, he screams Pittsburgh Steeler. I could see him going on day 2. I mean, this is a guy just a year ago, 2,000 all-purpose yards, won the Doak Walker Award, carried that Oklahoma State offense literally to the playoffs almost. Or they actually might have made the playoffs, I forget, but he's a guy that can do it all. He's not the fastest. He came in at 6'1", 226 pounds, and ran a 4.61. That's not bad. Like you talked about earlier, how Alvin Kamara, James, like all these other guys were running in the 4.58, 4.6 range. Kareem Hunt, these type of guys. Gordon's a friggin' monster, dude. He's like that James Conner build, right? That 6'1", 230-pound player that is just complete. And I think that teams are going to really like him. I think he's going to test well in terms of interviews and all that good stuff that matters for draft capital as well. He's just a player that screams pro. He's good in pass pro. He can run the ball between the tackles. He can catch the ball a little bit. He's a guy that I love taking shots on, especially in this range. Like if you can get him in second to third round of your rookie drafts and he goes day 2, like sign me up all day. I actually have him a bit higher. I have him over Sampson, but it's splitting hairs in this tier right here. But this is a phenomenal tier. I think there's a good chance we get 2 to 3 productive players out of this tier when it's all said and done.
Mm-hmm. We're moving down to D tier, and now Snoog, before we even start on that, tell everybody what we mean when we say D tier, because the letter D makes some people like, oh, is this a draft grade? It's not. It's just our tiers based on how well these players can perform and what their roles can be.
Yeah, these are guys that we kind of project to be kind of in that committee handcuff range. So guys are going to be like RB2s or like drafted as a backup, like a Trey Benson, a Blake Corum, those type of guys, like a slightly less version of those guys that we think could go round 4, maybe sneak into that late round 3 range if they have maybe a team falls in love with that they're fast or that they can catch the ball really well. Or these guys all do something really well, which will make them stand out over the rest of the guys after them. But we're looking at guys that probably go in that day 3 range that can be your Ramondre Stevenson, maybe your James Robinson or your Kareem Hunt, like these type of guys that kind of Kyra Williams, like that slipped for a reason in the draft. Maybe they weren't fast enough. Maybe they couldn't do this good enough, but they are also really good at running between the tackles, so they can catch the ball really well. So that's kind of what this tier looks like. Quite frankly, these 4 guys that we're about to talk about to finish off this show for you would have been comfortably in our top 8 to 10 last year, like very easily,
or better
in our top 8 to 10 or better
for sure. I'm switching up slightly here with you because I know your guy's coming up next. For me, I actually like RJ Harvey here. You look at his yards after contact, 3.7, his missed tackles forced per 30% of his tackles were misforced. His breakaway run rate, 11.9, and he ran at 4.4240. He was flying. Like he was someone that I think when you look at Zach Zerline's film grade, they have him at a 5.96. A lot of people have really moved him up into that top 10 of the class. We're not quite there yet. I think RJ Harvey has a lot of upside in this class. And I think if you're getting him in this likely early 3rd range, this is what we keep talking about is guys that you are drafting with those early 3s. You should be pounding running backs. You shouldn't be going out there and trying to get wide receivers drafted round 4 and 5 because the hit rate on those guys is incredibly low. But running backs that are going to get drafted, like I said, in round 3, RJ Harvey's a guy for me. I think round 3, round 4, he goes to the right situation. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him, so I'm in.
Yeah, that's a good pick there. I like that pick for RJ Harvey. Next guy here, I'm going to go with Brashard Smith from SMU. And this is a guy that's actually a converted wide receiver to running back. Came to SMU, played running back, ridiculous amount of points. Like he's an elite receiver, 30-plus receptions, 300-plus receiving yards, 1,200-plus rushing yards, ran the ball well between the tackles, natural fluid accelerator, ran a 4.38 at the combine. So he's an explosive athlete. He reminds me a lot of kind of like that Mike McDaniel, like style of running back that you can play at slot receiver and you can also play in the backfield and have him take 10 and 12 to 15 carries. So I think he's going to project really well at the next level to be a guy that stands out on that early day 3 or even late day 2 range, just because of how good he is as a receiver. Probably one of, if not the best receiver in this class, because he literally played receiver. He can run routes. He can have an entire route tree. So that's what stands out for me with Brashard Smith. And that's why I kind of like him in that range, taking shots on him in that maybe early round 3 range or late round 2 range in your rookie drafts. But again, checks a lot of boxes in terms of complete skill set to translate to the next level.
I like it. Now we are like, honestly, we're 15 running backs into this class, and I'm still excited about a lot of these guys. You couldn't say that last year. After like 5, we're like, yeah, let's try to figure out some things. This year, we're looking at the sweet 16 running backs, guys that you want to get your hands on. 15, Tahj Brooks is being slept on way too much. 5'10", 230 pounds, an elusive runner. 2 seasons of 1,500 plus rushing yards, Snoog. 96 forced tackles in 2023. That's number 1 in all of college football. 100 plus rushing yards in 19 of his last 24 games of the last 2 seasons.
Yep.
I know you've been high on him the entire process. I'm starting to come around on him. At RB 15 in this class, you're going to get a diamond in the rough in the 3rd round. Last year, we talked about Bucky Irving falling to the 3rd round. Some of these guys, and Tahj Brooks might be one of those guys where you're going to get a guy that has an opportunity to, if he gets a chance to start, might take over a role. Tahj Brooks, I think, is one of those guys.
Yeah, he film wise, I liked him better than a lot of the guys that we've been talking about the past 4 to 5 guys. Like, I think film wise and his skill set could be really high. I just don't know if the NFL is going to buy into it. And draft capital is so important for these running backs. So that's why he's a bit lower for me, even though I really love him and his tape and his ability to play football. But last guy here, finishing off the Sweet 16 rookie running backs for the 2025 class. You want to talk about a guy being able to be deployed all over the football field. There's another guy like Brashard Smith in this class, and it's LeQuint Allen from Syracuse. 20 years old, early declare, broke out as a sophomore, back-to-back seasons with 1,000 plus yards. This guy can play slot receiver. You can deploy him on Texas routes out of the backfield. You can put him on wheel routes. He can do everything. He's not just a check down guy. Good contact balance, had a pretty decent day at the combine, looked smooth in drills. He's wishy-washy for a lot of people. Some people are super high on him, like Mel Kiper and a lot of those guys. And then some people are like, don't even talk about him. I'm in between with him. I think he's definitely one of my favorite guys to target after like your consensus top 12 in rookie drafts, because a lot of people really don't talk about him. And like, I think I got him in a couple mock drafts, him and Tahj Brooks in like round 4. Sign me up all day for that, because these are guys that can be like your James Robinsons, your Ramondre Stevensons, your Kyron Williams, like those guys that slip way down boards and go basically undrafted, but you can get them and they end up being a starter, end up being a player in an offense eventually. Man, this class is good, Dad. Like, this is, I think LeQuint Allen, I could comfortably say I would have had like right there with like Audric Estime and like those guys last year in that like RB7 range, RB6 range.
So that's our top Sweet 16 post combine. Again, to just go over that: A tier, Ashton Jeanty. S tier. A tier, we're going TreVeyon Henderson, Omarion Hampton, Quinshon Judkins, Kaleb Johnson. These guys are true difference makers. These guys all have top 12 dynasty running back upside. I would argue that Henderson, Judkins, and Hampton have, if they get the right landing spot,
top
could
8.
be sick. I had at Hampton in the last mock, they had him going to the Chargers before Najee. I said top 6. Like that's the kind of ceiling that these guys have.
Yeah.
Cam Skattebo in B tier by himself. Again, top 18 type upside. Same with these guys in C. The difference between B and C is much bigger than the difference between, the difference between A and B is bigger than it is between B and C. We look at Devin Neal, Tuten, Giddens, Martinez, Sampson, and Gordon in that C tier. All of these guys have the skill set to jump into B if they get the right landing spot. Then we talk in that D tier: Brashard Smith, RJ Harvey, Tahj Brooks, LeQuint Allen. Snoog, this is the best, deepest class that we've seen in a long time. It has the elite players in Jeanty, Hampton, Henderson, Judkins, Johnson. It has the depth unlike anything we've seen other than 2017. I mean, 2017 round 3, Snoog, we saw Connor go there. We saw, there were so many guys that fell into that range This class is going to have the same thing. We're going to see
Yep.
late draft picks of your Aaron Jones type, your James Conner type, your Alvin Kamara type, guys that have career arcs that are here to stay, that should reshape the dynasty running back landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. This class is set to be historic. We've been talking about that for a while, pounding the drum for this type of depth, this type of talent at the top end. A lot of people keep saying there's not a lot of talent at the top end. You're crazy. There's 5 stud running backs in this class that you can confidently say have RB1 or RB1 potential. I'm very confident in that, but
hey, our guy Michael Kensel,
I love this.
He dropped in a super chat. You know, we were getting ready to close it out, but he dropped it in here.
Raiders
he said, "Hey,
Bears.
fellas, ideal drafting spot for Judkins, Henderson, and the D tiers like Allen, Smith, and Harvey." So I agree. Judkins and Henderson, the ideal landing spot for me is the Bears. I think I would like to see. I like Henderson.
Judkins to the Raiders all day long.
Yeah,
Chip Kelly all day with Pete Carroll. He screams that offense. Henderson Bears. Oh my gosh, he's the 102 if that happens.
Yeah, and your D tier guys, looking at Allen, Smith, Harvey, they're going to be nice complementary guys. I want to see them go somewhere and be a primary insurance running back like Braylon Allen was last year, right? Braylon Allen fell in the draft, but you're like, oh, he went to the Jets. And then you saw some opportunities when Hall got banged up. So I think that's really what we're really trying to look at is when that happens, you want these guys to fall to situations where they're behind an elite level running back with an elite level. Yeah, exactly. Texans.
Cool. I could see like the Cowboys or the Chargers, like if they really want to rat it with that group and just run a committee approach, like they could try to snag one of those guys in like round 5 or 4 or something like that. I could see that for best case scenario, but you're likely, like Dad said, maybe the 49ers take one of these guys with CMC or Texans with Joe Mixon, but
yeah, and Michael, you always jump in here and support. Make sure you got DM one of us. We want to make sure you can get an opportunity to get in one of our mock drafts. We do our mock drafts with guys in the Discord every single Wednesday, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you guys tune in. We have 10 guys from the Discord. That's that we have our Smash Accept Discord that are drafting with Snoog and I. Snoog and I break down all the picks so you guys can get a better idea of where these running backs belong to go. So thanks for tuning in and enjoy the process.